Well, I'm going to go over a little bit of the flatted fifths, flat 5, which you get in Duke Ellington theme by Billy Strayhorn. Yeah, but it looks like an A flat 7 chord, and it is, but it's also a D7 flat 5. If you take a D7 right there on those 3 strings, those three strings that make that note are inside. It's a F sharp or a G flat, C, and A flat, G flat, C, and A flat make an A flat 7 chord. Okay. Now, if I push that A flat up to an A, I have F sharp, which is in harmonic with G flat, F sharp, C, and A. That's a D7 chord. That's a D7 chord. So, what is the fifth of D? D, E, F, G, A. So if we flat the A, we get A flat. So a D7 chord has an A flat in it, because the A, the fifth, has been flatted. You could call that a diminished 5, because diminished means flatted. Augmented means raised, diminished means lower. So it's an A flat 7 chord. Now, if we analyze that and go further with it, you would have it, for example, like here. You see what I'm saying? Because the A is here, the D is here, F sharp is there, so it's D on the bottom, A flat, F sharp, C. Now that's a D7 flat 5 chord. Now if we raise the A flat to A, that's something we know. We borrow all the way across to make that a D7 chord. To flat it, we have to put the note in. We have to use 4 fingers. Now that's the second chord of da, do, dee, da, A train. You got that A flat in there? Now that's this chord in 3 notes. See that? Now if we analyze this D7 flat 5 we have down here, and we start on A flat, you have A flat, you have C, and you have D, or E double flat, and you have your G flat, which is your F sharp in harmonic. So if I push this up to E flat, I've got an A flat 7 chord. But if I lower the fifth, E flat down, I've got an A flat 7 flat 5. Well, that's the exact same notes as a D7 flat 5. Now, what you've actually done is you will find out that if you play those, and you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that you end up getting the same kind of a chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in reality, that A flat there, that is really what we were playing it as, yeah. In the flat 5 in the D7 is really an A flat 7 chord, yes. And if you go up, you get it also. You can get, and if you use all 4 notes, you get all the same notes. So what happens is after you've gone up 6, then for the next 6, you're back to where you started. So what happens is instead of having 12 notes in the scale, you cut it to 6 in the chromatic scale. Instead of having 12 notes in the chromatic scale, you know, see. Right, if you come up the scale, you're supposed to, theoretically in the old days, you're supposed to put your first finger down and then slide it. And then put these fingers down, the last one, and then slide it. And that gets you to the next string. That gives you chromatic scale. That gives you chromatic scale. That's a C chromatic scale. Now if you cut it in half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you see, you're cutting everything in half, so you're getting these kind of chords. Now, they're very usable chords, because if you wanted to, you know, to make this, for example, that would be a C. You've got the 3rd, the E, the 7th, the B flat. Now, you've raised the G to G sharp. So you've got a C7 augmented chord with a D, a 9 on the top. So you've got a C7. Now, you can't call it augmented ninth because that would mean E flat. So it's a C augmented chord with a 7 and a 9. Very useful chord when you're playing. Now, if you went ahead and augmented the 9th, you'd start having that augmented 9th chord, you see? And if you went back, took the augmented down to the 5th, the C7 chord, you would have that augmented 9th chord we used the other day, remember? Right? See, so what happens is you're just moving the 5ths and the 9ths around in these chords, and you're leaving the C out because you don't need the C or even the G at that point. But if you do something to the G, like augment it or flat it, then you've got to use it. You see, so now here, I just said that was a C7 flat 5 chord. G, C, D, E, F, G is the 5th of C. Take the G down, you got a flat 5 chord with a 9. I put the on top. Now if I put the C on the top, you just have a C7 with a flat 5 chord. But the whole thing is you're starting to cut the scale in half. You're starting to do different things. So when you play very modern music, chromatic chords run all over the place. This leads back to the cycle of 5ths we did before, going from A to D to G to C to F to B flat. This goes back to that because that's what modern things do. On top of those, they put those different things. Gotten down there, I run it down to becomes a diminished chord, which is a flat 9 chord. A diminished chord is the top of a flat 9 chord, and any diminished chord is good for transposing from one key to another because you modulate easily. Because when you put the flat 9 on top of a chord, here's a C7 chord, there's a C7 with a flat 9. That's actually a diminished chord. Hear it? But I got the C underneath it. And when you do that, you can take a diminished chord, it goes anywhere because there's only 3 diminished chords. See how you've cut now from cut in half to 6, now you cut it down to 3. Now you cut it in quarters. You see? So when you get to these things, you've cut the scale all in quarters because there's only 3. Then you're back to the first. You got the same notes as the first. There are only 3 of those. You see, so you're starting to cut everything in half. So if you do so and you're playing music, then we'll take some stuff and show you how the cycle of fifths and things convert and transfer around. Now if you take, well, let's take the old tune by Kern. Yesterdays. Now, the modern guys play this tune a lot. It's a very simple, nice little tune. Yesterdays, olden days, days I've known as happy, sweet sequestered. You see, it goes to, it starts moving things. Okay, so let's put it in C minor because it'll give us some open strings and it'll be a little lower. Quite often it's played in D minor. Now, the old dispute is, do you play the second chord, say we're on that D minor. The melody is A, F. Now, the melody goes to the G. Now, is it a G major chord? Is it a G minor chord? Or do you put them all in there? You see? You could put them all in there. The same way is you could also take it up a half step. You take the minor up from yesterdays, and guess what you've got? An E flat major 7 chord, because the top of the E flat major 7 chord, if you drop the E flat off, is a G minor. And you went from D minor to G minor before, right? But if you go from D minor to raise it a half step, that's how much modern that sounds. But it's still that G minor chord where the D is raised. Yesterdays, you could yell and days. You could do any kind of thing you want to it, see? And then I better stop this and then I'll repeat. I'll start off right there where I left off.